Welcome to the DJ Mac podcast series with me, Darraghan McGann. And today's episode is all about staycation like no other with my mother. Stay tuned and welcome aboard. And you're very welcome on board the DJ Mac podcast series with me, Darraghan McGann. And it is all about a staycation like no other with my mother. So to get us in the mood, have a listen to this. And that there was the introduction to the infamous Christy Hennessy song, Star, which I will play the podcast out on a little bit later. But I just wanted to share with you all the staycation like no other with my mother that I've just returned from. Last Saturday, the 28th of August, Mum and I and our little dog Magic headed off for the Kingdom of Kerry and to the town of Killorglin. Now, when Mum and I were planning our staycation, we were thinking of different places to go to. Initially, we were thinking of going to County Mayo, but as many of you will know, Mum hasn't been overly well this year, and about a month or so ago, she did say to me that she felt that a trip to Mayo might be too much for me. However, what I really knew was that she was saying it might have been too much for her. So I went back to the drawing board, and then I was looking at maybe we might go to Tipperary. But whilst the idea of Tipperary seemed pretty good, the house offering that was available just wasn't right. There was a stairs involved. And I wanted something where Mum would feel comfortable and relaxed. So I went back to the drawing board again, and I found this amazing cottage down in the town of Killorglin. And of course, as we all know, Killorglin is infamous for Puck Fair. I can tell you all now that the Puck wasn't there when we got there. But it was a beautiful cottage. It was situated outside of Killorglin on the Milltown Road, right across the road from what was the old Killorglin Golf Club. Now called the Main Valley Golf Club. And how that came to be, Killorglin Golf Club, I'm told, was supposed to be closed down last year because of COVID and everything else, but they decided to close the golf course in Castle Island, and the members there amalgamated with the members of Killorglin Golf Club, and they rebranded it the Main Valley Golf Club. So our cottage was based literally across the road from it. In fact, from outside the house, I could see the clubhouse. So that was really good. Beautiful house, 3-bedroom, quite open plan, but everything on the flat, which was ideal for Mum because she was using her 3-wheel rollator to get around. So we got down on Saturday to Killorglin just before 3 o'clock, and of course, we all knew what was going on at 4 o'clock is that Kerry were playing Tyrone in the All-Ireland football semi-final in Croke Park. So I really wanted to see the game on TV. So we got to the house around 3, got the bags in, settled down, made a cup of tea, and lo and behold, what would you find? The television didn't work. Well, it kind of did. You had RT1 and Virgin Media 3, you had RT1 plus 1, RT2 plus 1, and for anybody that doesn't know what that means everything is like an hour later or, you know, a program later. So we had to tune into the match via my cell phone, and listened to the commentary on radio. We went to Mass. Mum wanted to go to Mass, and we haven't been to the Mass in the Cathedral in Cove for some time, primarily because the sound system there, it really isn't great, and Mum just finds that listening to Mass at home, she gets more out of it. But we went to Mass in Castlemaine, which is the home of the wild colonial boy, Jack Duggan, and of course, I did have to break into song while I was driving through. But we went to Mass and really enjoyed it. We decided we'd stay at home that evening, we wouldn't go out eating anywhere. So I went into a local takeaway in Milltown, and that was our Saturday night. Now, when we were heading to Kerry, and we had been in Kerry last year as well, we had stayed in Portmagee and spent 5 glorious days down there as well. But Mum had a few kind of desires that she wanted, a few dreams she wanted to fulfill. And one of those was to go to Ross Bay, a beautiful beach, absolutely stunning beach near Glen Bay. So Sunday around noon, that's where we headed for, and such a beautiful, beautiful day. The sun was shining, there was no wind, it was quite warm, and there is a fantastic footpath there by the car park, which is ideal for people that, have disabilities or have limited mobility. So Mum went for a walk on the footpath, and I, with magic, we went for a walk too, in around the grass. And yes, I did bring the poop bag with me, because I didn't want to be one to be accused of leaving the poop behind. But Mum got a chance to talk to some lovely people. In fact, people who were down from Cork, and they were putting a nameplate on one of the benches in Ross Bay. And it appears it's quite a common practice to remember your loved ones and the shared memories that people have had in Ross Bay, and I'm sure it happens in other places as well. So we stayed there for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we were starting to feel a little bit hungry. So I said to Mum, right, let's go and get something to eat. Now, I have to be honest, and I'm not trying to be extremist when I say this, but we were kind of slow to be going indoors anywhere to eat, at least not the first day or two. It's not just been overly dramatic because of COVID, but I suppose this is Mum's first time out in such a long time. So anyway, we headed off from Ross Bay over towards Carsavine. Everywhere was packed. Drove out the road to Portmagee. Well, now, I could have got a table, but I had nowhere to park the car. So I took the bridge over to Valentia, drove around to Knightstown, and nowhere there that we could see that we could get something to eat. Well, I'm sure there was, but I just didn't find them. So I took the ferry boat back to the mainland, and I was thinking about O'Neill's, The Point, well-known seafood restaurant, but unfortunately they weren't open till 5, and this was 3:30 in the afternoon. So between this, that, and the other, I got back on the road, and would you believe, I drove all the way to Sneem. Well, I was fairly certain that we'd find somewhere in Sneem, because I had worked in Parknassilla Great Southern in 1996, and Sneem was like a second home, and I knew a lot of places. And sure enough, when I arrived into Sneem, the first restaurant on the right, the Stonehouse, there was a table waiting for us outside the door, and that's where we parked up the car, and we sat down, and we enjoyed a beautiful meal. Absolutely stunning. I happen to know the owner, Renee. I know a lot of the staff as well. Hard to believe that was 25 years ago when I worked there, but not a lot has changed. And certainly the quality of the food was really outstanding. So we headed off from there, and instead of heading to Kenmare, I decided to take the road towards Moll's Gap Lady View. But halfway along that road, you take a turn to the left heading for Glencar, and you will embark on a most scenic journey. Now, it's quite death-defying as well, because it's all uphill, it's all up to the top of the mountains. And when you reach the summit, there's only room for one car really to get through. And whilst it's great to be a passenger in the car to, savour the scenery and the sights, it is eyes on the road if you're the driver. Don't be taking the eyes off the road, because if you do, you might be going over the side. But we headed back down into Glencar and headed back to Milltown and back home. And we relaxed there for the evening, looking forward to Monday, where we were going to achieve another dream of Mum's, and that was to have a paddle in the water. You see, part of Mum's issue of the last few months is that her ankles and her feet were inclined to swell up. I'm told that's something that happens when you get into your older years. I used to have it too, but I lost a little bit of weight, and that has helped me greatly. So we got up Monday. I suppose when I say that we left around noontime, how I've seen a change in Mum's health and her energy in a year, because last year we might have been up at 9 in the morning on the road for 10:30. This time we took it easy, we relaxed, we chilled out as we're supposed to do. We got on the road around 12 and we headed out the Dingle Road towards the Dingle Peninsula, and we stopped at Inch Bay. And oh my goodness, what a most stunning place. We were there last year as well. And what I love about it is that you can drive onto the sand, and you could drive for almost miles along the strand. And I got to a nice quiet location. I parked the car as close as it was safe to do so, closer to the water without hitting wet sand and sinking in, because I could never live that down. Got out of the car, got Mum's big 4-wheel rollator, and bless her heart, she walked down to the sea. The water was ebbing, high tide had been and gone, but she had plenty time to walk into the water, and she sat there on her rollator and just, took it all in, took deep breaths of beautiful sea air. I myself took off the shoes and socks as well, and even Magic, the little dog, she enjoyed having a paddle in the water and a run around the sand as well. So we stayed there for maybe an hour. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. It wasn't as sunny. It was overcast, but it was warm. It was calm. It was dry. Got back into the car and we were heading on a mission, because I do have a weakness, I've got to say, for apple tart and cream. Who doesn't? But when it's people who are from Cove that actually have a house out on the Sleigh Head, and they do apple tart and cream, rhubarb tart and cream, or scone and cream, well, I'm going to be there. So we headed off in through Dingle and out the Sleigh Head, and again, what a stunning drive. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you will come to the location where the episode 7, The Force Awakens, was actually filmed, out on the Sleigh Head. You get around the Sleigh Head, the landmark to look out for is Calvary, the cross, and about a half mile after that, you'll come to this little house on the side of the road that says Home Baking. And that's where we stopped, and that's where we got our apple tart and cream and our cup of tea, and it was absolutely brilliant. If you're in that area, it's well worth a visit. So we took off from there again and headed back, ended up in Tralee, of all places, and from there it was a short drive to Milltown and back home again to our lovely little cottage in Killorglin. Now, we made a decision that evening that we would try eating indoors, and we took the short hop across the road to the golf club, and we were received very well there. A few of the locals were there, reminiscing about what might have happened on Saturday if Kerry had actually beaten Tyrone. But we found a nice table overlooking the golf course and just enjoyed a wonderful meal served by wonderful staff. And that brought to a close a very wonderful evening. Now, I have a lot of good friends around the country, and I always like to meet up with some of them if I'm in an area. And one of those is a friend called Owen. He's a member of the Garda Síochána. He's based in Tralee, but he lives in Killarney. And I would know Owen quite well because he would look after the young people when we would go on pilgrimage to Lourdes. So I contacted Owen, I said I'm in the area, and we agreed to meet on Tuesday at 12 noon for coffee in Killarney. Now, Mum was feeling a little bit tired, a little bit washed out. I guess going down to the beach on Monday took a lot out of her. So I said to her, look, if you want to stay behind, stay in the house and rest and relax. I'll go into Killarney, I'll meet with Owen, and I'll come back to collect you because we had booked in for dinner in a seafood restaurant later that evening. Mum was delighted because she wanted to say that to me and she didn't want to offend me. So I agreed to meet Owen at the racecourse in Killarney. And you might wonder, the racecourse? I'm not exactly racecourse material. I certainly wouldn't be running around the track. But Owen told me that there was a lovely coffee shop right down at the pavilion of the racecourse. And he did not disappoint. Wow, what a location. A beautiful lawned area in front of the clubhouse, right by the stands and the course itself and the parade ring and bench seating. You could even bring your dog. They provided bowls of water. So this was just absolutely brilliant. Had a great catch up with Owen. Lovely coffee. Lovely banana bread. Yes, I did have banana bread. And of course that was the craze last year during the first lockdown. You remember, you couldn't buy a bag of flour for love nor money in a shop. Really enjoyed Owen's company. Left there, headed into Killarney for a little walk around. And of course, Sunday had been my mum's birthday. She turned the age of 87. And I really wanted to get her something nice. So I went into Killarney and I bought her a new pair of shoes. And they weren't cheap, I can tell you. But they were worth it because the smile on her face, and when she put them on, if they fitted like gloves, she was delighted. So we headed off Tuesday evening, back for that seafood restaurant, O'Neill's The Point, in just outside Carsavine, and enjoyed a lovely evening there in the company of a lovely couple, just random that we met them. They happen to be from Cork, Peter and Joan. Really enjoyed their company. And from there, once dinner was over, we headed home again. Now, Wednesday, we weren't quite sure what to do, but there was one place in Kerry I had never been to, and that was the town of Ballybunion, and in particular the golf course in Ballybunion, which hosted the Irish Open Golf, then sponsored by Murphy's, back in the year 2000. So off we went, headed for Ballybunion, but on the way found a most beautiful little beach called Kilmore Strand, and we parked up there and we had a picnic, guys. We really did. It was just wow. It was quiet, it was resplendent, the weather was good, the tide was in, and just a great feel-good factor. Left there, headed for Ballybunion, and arrived at the golf course. Of course, I used to be a budding golfer back in the day, so I took the opportunity. I was a bit cheeky, I was a bit bold, but I walked up to the first tee of the old course, and I said to the starter, I hope you don't mind. And he said, no, it's quiet, there's nobody there, off you go. And I stood up there and I was imagining teeing it up in the Irish Open back in 2000. Yeah, that will never happen. In fact, I'd settle for a Pro-Am, but sure, that'll never happen either. But you never know. We headed from Ballybunion back towards Listowel, and we passed by the pub that was once owned by John B. Keane, and of course his son runs it now, and we see him quite often on the Today Show with Dahi and Maura on RTE1. Of course, they'll be back very soon too. Headed through Listowel, back into Milltown, and back home. And we decided we would go back to the golf club again for something to eat. There was an ulterior motive. I wanted to see the match. Republic of Ireland versus Portugal. We got there, we had a lovely meal, but more importantly, got good seats to watch the match. And, the first half was absolutely incredible. Second half wasn't bad either. But I got to hang out with the staff as well, and I got to say the staff inside there were so kind and so good to us, but particularly to Mum. And I suppose this is the point I want to make in this podcast, that, if you have a loved one who's restricted in mobility, there are some wonderful people out there who are there to help and to make life so much easier for your loved one and for you too. So we had to be out of the house on Thursday morning, initially by 10, but the host contacted me to say, look, you could push it out to 11. And I really appreciated that, because I didn't want to be getting Mum up too early in the morning. I did my packing on Wednesday night. You see, I'm an organisational freak, normally do my packing an hour before I leave, but I did it the night before. And I was really good in the kitchen. I put on my apron, made sure everything was clean and tidy. And we got underway on Thursday morning at 11 a.m. to say goodbye to Killorglin. And first stop was the racecourse in Killarney. I wanted Mum to see exactly what I had experienced. And we were able to sit down there with Magic, and we enjoyed a cup of tea and just took in the surroundings. And Mum was reminiscing about a time when she went to the Killarney races back in the 1960s, believe it or not. So we headed from there out the Muckross Road and on up over Moll's Gap, down into Kenmare. And I said to Mum, look, we won't go straight home. We'll head down towards West Cork. And there was the start of an unbelievable adventure. Once again, driving skills to the fore. Kem went over the bridge coming out of Kenmare and turned right for Lorrock. Now, you could continue straight through Lorrock and on for the Healy Pass, which in and of itself is just a magnificent drive with magnificent scenery. But no, I decided to do the Coast Road, the true Ring of Beara. Well, now, really what I was trying to find was a place called Kilmacalogue, a harbour. It had been recommended to me by good friends. They told me that there was a bar restaurant there called Helen's. You need to go there. And when somebody says to me that I need to go there, well, my curiosity is to the fore. I need to go there. So we set out on this journey, and really it was a journey of twisting and winding, up and down, narrow roads, grass in the centre. The scenery was just stunning. But I came across one or two local drivers who weren't inclined to pull in. They wanted me to reverse. So I did. I didn't get upset. I reversed. But I just thought to myself, this is absolute bloody madness. Wish I had an automatic car. I didn't. But anyway, got on with it. Eventually came to Kilmacalogue and found this bar restaurant. And we went in, got a beautiful table, lovely table. Some lovely people inside there, young and old alike. And Helen, the proprietor, true to form, came over to welcome us and to provide us with the menu. Now, I will tell you guys, it's a very, very small, basic menu. But here's the deal. I enjoyed the best meal of my entire 6 days in Helen's. And the reason I'm making a big deal about it is that this staycation, it posed more questions than it did answers when it comes to eating out. And I'll tell you why. Sat down in Helen's, Mum's appetite wouldn't be the best, so she just wanted a bowl of homemade soup, and that she got. I decided, well, I'm by the sea, I might as well go for fish, so I asked for the fish and chips, which was cod and chips. I gotta tell you, it was the most beautiful piece of cod I've ever had in such a long, long time. White and flaky, inside a beautiful light and crispy batter, beautiful homemade chips, and for our American guests, they're like French fries, but they're a lot nicer. A lovely side salad. Mum had a glass of orange. I had a cup of coffee. And the entire lunch for us all came to a total of €17.50. I nearly fell off the chair with fright. I said to the waiter, I said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Is that not just for mine?" He said, "No, it's for the lot." And I'm like scratching my head, because I had been to other places throughout that trip to Kerry, and I was charged anywhere from €40 to €70 for meals. And I'm asking myself the question, well, how can they do lunch for €17.50 and other places are charging 3, 4 or 5 times that amount? Now, I'm not trying to create an argument here, but I'm asking a legitimate question. What's the disparity in pricing? We're asking people to stay in Ireland. We're asking people to do the staycation. The least we should be doing is making sure that they still have money in their pocket coming out. Now, let me just say this. I don't begrudge any place I've been to. I was quite happy to pay it. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. But, my goodness me, the disparity of pricing in this case was just unbelievable. Headed off from Helen's to continue the Ring of Beara. And I've often heard tell that the Ring of Beara is equally as beautiful as the Ring of Kerry. And I have to say, if I was the passenger in the car, I'd absolutely agree. Now, being the driver, it was fun. It was like driving Formula 1 at 20 kilometers an hour in a very narrow location, if you get me. It was death-defying at times. But it was just a most beautiful drive. We ended up in the little village of Iries. Did the lotto there. I must check the numbers, actually. I might have won the 13 million tonight, and nobody will know that I was there. I wish. But we headed from there back into Castletown Bear, magnificent sea fishing port. From there to Glengariff, and from there to home. And it brought to a close a staycation like no other with my mother. It was a staycation like no other because it was an emotional time. Because for quite a number of weeks now, I had wondered if we'd ever get away at all. Because Mum's health has been in somewhat of a decline. But true to her good nature and her good self and her fighting capabilities, there was no way she was not going on this staycation. I will always remember the staycation because we had a wonderful house. It was all in the flat. Killorglin was so central. 20 minutes from Killarney, 20 minutes from Tralee, maybe about 40 minutes from Dingle, but everything was in close proximity. I'll remember it for the most wonderful times I had with Mum and I had with Magic. And I'll remember it because it was peaceful, it was filled with joy, and also filled with emotion. And I guess that brings me to the last day that we were there. I encountered somebody quite randomly. She lived in the house across from where we were staying. A lady who's actually a life coach. And we started talking and chatting about this and about that and about life. And honest to God, she helped give me back my mojo and my passion for what I love in life. And I am now convinced, and I'm determined, that I'm going to make my music career work. I'm going to make my radio career work and my podcast. And I'm going to enjoy this transition as well, which, that's the one thing. Last year, when I came home, I came out to Mum as being transgender. This was my first breakaway where I could be me. I could be the girl. And the acceptance that I experienced down around Kerry and surrounds was absolutely unbelievable. So that's the end of this podcast episode. A staycation like no other with my mother. Thank you for staying on board, and until next time, wherever you are, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll leave you now with the Christy Hennessy song Star. Until next time, this is Dara Jan signing out saying bye for now.
I've been sitting here so long for you to hear my songs, but all you want to know, have I been on the radio? Who's the biggest star I've seen? What is my favorite scene? And if I get the job, would I sing on Mars? Yes, sir, I would sing on Mars. I'd play upon a star. I'd sing songs of the sun. And when my job was done, I would say I love you so. And I'd like to play one more, just to all young lovers for the road. Tell me, son, yeah, just how far I need to go to be a star. I have known my highs and lows. I've worked in every show. I've played in every town and brought some houses down. Critics never notice me. I'm not a star, you see. And yet I give my heart to every part. I would stand for hours and hours. I'd wade through sun and showers with my dancing shoes and my dreams on view. I'd walk upon an empty stage with one light in my face, to be told don't phone us, but we'll phone you. Just how far I need to go to be a star. Every day the same old scenes, the same old happenings, 100 miles of shows and yet no place to go. And when your luck is all run out, you're asked to take a bow. You've just stolen the show, but now you're on your own. Yes, sir, yeah, let's sing on Mars. My dream scene is Need a star, need a star. I am a star.